थोड़ा सा और हम माइक्रो जाएंगे ऑन थिंग्स विच कैन डायरेक्टली फैक्टर इमीडिएट लर्निंग्स फॉर सम फाउंडर फ्रेंड्स ऑफ आवर्स, है ना. अलग अलग टाइप के इन्वेस्टर्स एक इंसान के कैप टेबल में स्टेजेस के हिसाब से आते हैं. उसके एक्सपीरियंसेस भी बहुत अलग होते हैं. अर्ली स्टेज का माइंडसेट बहुत अलग होता है, मिड लेवल का बहुत अलग होता है, थोड़ा सा लेट स्टेज ग्रोथ का थोड़ा अलग होता है. बट थ्रू आउट दिस भाई, वन ऑफ द थिंग्स दैट आई कीप एम्फसाइजिंग ऑन, एंड आई हैव सीन founders recognizing this much more of late, especially relationships that I have with founders, the intangible capital matters much more than the tangible capital. चेक बहुत लोग लिख सकते हैं आपके धंधे के ऊपर, बिजनेस प्लान के ऊपर, सक्सेस के ऊपर, बट फॉर अ फाउंडर what should matter is not just the check but beyond the check. That is where intangible capital comes in. So bhai, for you, someone who's seen multiple fundraisers, someone who's been through different mindsets of investors, different types of investors, take us through tangible versus intangible. Take us through how important is it for founders to understand the value of intangible capital, and what are those types of intangible capitals that some of our viewers should know if they are in that journey of trying to find out who's the right fit for them, provided they have options, because everything at the end of the day, I keep saying भाई माहौल matters. माहौल में अगर एक ऑप्शन है और एक महीने का रनवे है, ज़िंदगी बहुत अलग है. लेकिन अगर आपके पास भगवान भरोसे कुछ महीनों का रनवे है, कुछ 2-3 ऑप्शंस है, कंप्लीटली डिफरेंट माइंडसेट होता है भाई. सो टेक अस अ बिट थ्रू द माइंडसेट ऑफ सिलेक्टिंग एंड अंडरस्टैंडिंग tangible versus intangible, and how does a founder go through that journey?
So one of the major decisions is, how do you go about selecting partners, right? And I'm talking about investors and things like that. If you have a choice.
If you have a choice. And that's why I said माहौल matters भाई.
So जिसके पास choice नहीं है, that's a different story.
Different story.
If you have a choice, what do you index upon? And the first thing that I've seen is that the first thing that comes to our minds, because most of us have very, very mathematical brains, right? When people come to this side of the world, the first thing is, अरे यार वो लोग कैसा valuation देते हैं? Or basically,
Beautiful point that you're talking about.
Then basically the next stage comes when people start asking कि यार वो valuation कैसा देते हैं, terms कैसे देते हैं. Then the next stage comes where you talk to people कि यार how, because you know that when you talk about valuation, it's about what valuation you get today. When you talk about terms, then it's a question of basically what will happen at the end of it, how will you go through. And in the third stage, you start talking about how are those people as partners. Because जब भी आप business बनाओगे, there will be ups, downs, there will be all sorts of things, there will be a lot of noise in the market, right? For example, somebody will just come up with, let's say, some new technology and say कि यार आप भी वैसा technology क्यों नहीं replicate करते?
Correct.
Or basically something else, somebody's business goes down in some particular domain, then why are you trying that domain? This will happen, right? There's a lot of noise that will happen. How is basically a particular fund? How are they as partners? How do they go along in the journey in different times? And these are different stages, right, of this thing. The only thing that people that can shorten is, and let me basically put a little bit of ball in your courts as well, right? How many times you would have seen bad term sheets where only the valuation is good but the term sheet is bad? And the early stage, a lot of people picking bad terms just because of a better valuation and things and stuff. And then you realize that, नहीं यार एक मिनट रुको, सुन लो, समझ लो. I think it's a cycle, and I think for that matter, I would also admit this, that the younger entrepreneurs today, they're a lot more smarter than, let's say, what the entrepreneurs 10 years back were. Or, and because the ecosystem has completely evolved, there's a lot of transparency. Founders never used to talk to founders 10 years back. Now there is a lot of interaction between founders. Talking about term sheets was unimaginable. Today, founders sit down and they talk about terms. Arey yaar, ye kya term hota hai? What does it mean? What are the implications? They actually talk about fund journeys, because interestingly, funds also, despite funds also have different philosophies. Yeah. Ignore the good and bad. Yeah. There are different expectations, because funds also have systems, right? So without judging that this is good or that is bad, at least you understand what is their philosophy. What do they want out of their money? Because everybody invests with a purpose, right? Somebody who invests in a stock market saying that I'm, putting this money for 5 years versus somebody who says that I'm just doing a day trading, they are two different people. Both of them want to make a profit. The objectives are very different. So then you understand the objective, then you understand the purpose. I think it is happening more and more. And I think it is happening at more and more earlier stage than what used to happen before. And I think that's how it should be. So I think entrepreneurs tomorrow will be way more sensible in the way they make choices and stuff. And I think that will also shape a lot of this investment ecosystem as well. So one of the most beautiful things that has happened in the investor ecosystem is a lot of operators, they've actually gone into the other side, right? Otherwise, there was no perspective into that. I mean,
Actually, both things have happened.
both things are.
Both things. A lot of operators have gone into the investor side. A lot of investors have also become entrepreneurs to a great extent. So there's a lot of equal mindset that is shifting. But why? Let's understand the essence of intangible. According to you, therefore, दो चीज इसमें से उभर के आ रहा है. One, what you're talking about, of course, is soft diligence, which nowadays has started happening from founders' perspective. More importantly, a lot of good investors themselves say, "Ki bhai, you go and talk to my founders. Here are the founders. Go talk to them. Understand our philosophy, understand our thought process, understand how we operate. Because end of the day, bhai, it is third-party capital. End of the day, they are managing somebody else's capital, and a founder needs to go across and recognize that as well, है ना? But soft diligence छोड़ के, because उसमें काफी कुछ होगा. Intangible elements क्या होता है? Is it the fitrat? Is it the doors that the investors will open? Is it the connects that the investors will bring in? Is it that mindset of saying ki yaar, you can have that shoulder to rant irrespective of the valleys that you're facing? Or is it at times just to say ki yaar kuch nahi hota, sab theek ho jayega? Let's figure out, because lot of times in a founder's journey, bhai, situations will be jab wo chahiye ki yaar, we'll figure it out. Saath milke kar lenge. What are intangible capitals according to you?
See, this question is almost like that dating joke, right? When you ask a girl that what do you look for in a guy, and the first thing she says is sense of humor, right? But the truth is everybody is seeking something else, right? There are people who want that the investor should only invest the money and then basically forget about it, and we should only talk about on commercial terms. There are people who want the investors to work very closely with them and participate along the way. If it is a sales-oriented business, open doors. If it is basically an ops-heavy kind of business, they want the investors, because they have a bigger ecosystem, to bring those things. Some people want that. Some people want exactly opposite of that, we don't want any intervention. So everybody will have different expectations. And I think what I would try to rather emphasize is everybody should have different expectations. Some people should ask for that, if you come in, can you help us build better systems and integrate that through? At the same time, the other people who want that kind of approach, they should say that we actually want people where the whole approach is hands off, and because that's our operating style and stuff. Should you have the ability to choose and stuff? So it's very important to know what is your expectation from them, because there are all sorts of people, and each of them they are right in their own regard, right? They have their own operating style. They have their own. See, that's how it happens. That's how investors also pick companies, right? So, for example, even in the same space, when they have decided we'll invest in this space, there will be 3 different types of companies or 4 different types of companies. These are the companies which are more operations heavy. They are trying to build the business more tech heavy. They are trying to build the business more media heavy, or they are trying to build the business more M&A heavy, right? And like a completely inorganic strategy, while everybody might be selling the same products. So the consumer facing might be same, but the back end approach might be completely different. Somebody says that I'm going to build the next generation of app altogether. Somebody else is saying that I'm going to acquire so many small pieces. So the way investor picks, right? So one thing, and this is, I think, age joke. We are also aging, right? So this also
Ageist.
So
the ageist in us.
So basically, this also comes from the fact that we assume that the entrepreneurs will have very limited choices. The truth is, with the investor ecosystem increasing, the entrepreneurs will also have much more choices as we go along in future. So then if they understand themselves better, that this is what I want to play like, they can actually seek better partners for themselves, right? अभी तक उल्टा था, right? Ecosystem इतना छोटा था.
सही बात.
And God willing, what seems to be like a huge ecosystem from 2013 standpoint, 2033 mein this should look minuscule, and it should be a much bigger kind of a thing.